Today I'm watching Watchmen episode 6. Episode 5 was a big episode. We found out a lot. We learned more about Wade's backstory and more about his motivations for having this looking glass mask. We learned more about Adrian and his working with President Redford and him creating these squids and this 11-2 event that had a huge impact on Wade's life and millions of other people's lives. We ended the episode with quite a few characters being arrested. We saw Adrian being arrested. We saw Angela taking these nostalgia pills and being arrested, and the cavalry showing up at Wade's house. So ideally I would love for this episode to start with that scene, with whatever's happening at Wade's house, but given how the season's been going, I feel like it'll jump somewhere else and we'll kind of be stuck waiting to find out what's happening with Wade. I'm really enjoying the series so far. It's definitely making me want to do some more research into the source material once I've finished watching the show. But thank you so much for sharing in this first time watching with me. If you have any other suggestions for TV shows you think I should watch, please comment below. And if you want to have a say in what movies or TV shows I watch, be sure to join Patreon. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and check back often for more awesome content.
We want you to take that hood off so we can take a photo of your beautiful face.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah. Oh, that's a cool frame, having them in the mirror.
Safe is a roll of film. Jerry, you want to tell them what's on that film? Sex stuff.
Thanks, Jerry. Real contribution to the conversation.
Out to take a you.
Why should I trust you?
Because Jerry and me, we won't show it to anybody.
Yeah, right.
The way you like it, sweetheart.
I hate this guy. He's the worst. What?
Well. Ain't you pretty?
I recognize this actor thing.
Say cheese.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't gonna work. Yeah, this is a ruse for sure. Oh, bye. They don't make chairs like they used to. Classic cartoon bashing their own faces in.
But that limited the market because, you know, who wants to be in the present? We can live in the past.
Terrifying concept. Terrifying. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. If you take somebody else's memories as well, how does that affect you? Because you wouldn't have experienced it.
You're about to turn into a vegetable.
Oh my god.
Congratulations, son. Do us proud. Be safe.
That'd be so bizarre, living someone else's memories, and it's Angela on the inside, but everybody else obviously sees her grandpa.
Beware of the Cyclops. Congratulations, son.
The Cyclops?
Be safe out there.
That's ominous first day on the job for sure.
All of them. Your mother and your father.
That was a long time ago.
I don't think you get over something like that.
Hey!
Oh no. Oh my god, this guy is the worst.
Unconstitutional. Must be a case of mistaken identity.
Come on. Oh, this is gonna be a frustrating episode.
Who are you gonna believe? Me or him?
What'd you just call our fellow officer?
That was not the response I was anticipating.
We'll book this thing.
But Reeves made the arrest.
We got it from here?
Yeah, sure, okay.
What does that mean? Is he signaling the High Commander? What was that hand gesture? So cool. Just like all the little ways he's like walking between memories, and obviously just having the door in the middle of the street. Really cool. And using doors as a transition between scenes as well. So cool. Oh my god. Oh my god. Was that real, or was that a mix of the Tulsa massacre memories and present day memories? Oh my god, that was horrible. What? He died in the 50s? What? How is any of this possible?
Next time, we won't cut you down.
What a racist asshole. I was like, how did he die? And especially if Angela, if she dies in the memory, does she die in real life? Like, what does that look like? Poor Angela. Oh, it's just this awful. And the mask is born. Yeah, here he goes. I'm literally using the mask they were gonna hang him in. Oh my gosh. He's like, I'm got lots of anger I need to get out, so you guys are perfect. Oh my gosh. Is Will one of the first, like, Minutemen or, like, this, you know, masked vigilantes?
Okay. I'm angry.
I couldn't, like, walking home with the noose still around your neck. Oh my gosh. Just, oh, my heart. And, like, what we know he left the police force, and I'm hoping he doesn't go back to work. Like, I couldn't imagine what that would be like.
All the time.
Trust in the law.
Trust in law. That's the one.
Is this... I know that he had a baby, or not he had a baby, but there was a baby with him. Is that her? That's my guess.
You sure you want to do this?
And having Angela in the mirror.
I'm sure.
And we know Angela under her mask has a black stripe across hers. Oh. But if all they see is your eyes and they think it's a white person, oh, that's horrible. But also very accurate, which is terrifying.
Want to set the world on fire.
It's definitely interesting to see the similarities between Angela's story and Will's. Oh! Oh, bonked him. Oh, God. Oh. And even just having this filmed in black and white, obviously there's been themes of race throughout this entire show. Oh, there's the lettuce.
What the f are you supposed to be?
And it was in the back of this. Oh my gosh. He didn't realize he'd come out. Oh no. Oh! Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Such a cool frame. Is she frozen in the memory?
That's great. Angela, I've got Cal here with me.
Oh.
He's gonna read something to you that they said would help get you out of it.
Oh.
Officer Reeves, I'm Nelson Gardner. It's a pleasure to meet you.
That name sounds familiar.
If you don't mind excusing us, I'm hoping to discuss some business with your
Oh, this.
She's like, I love business. What are we talking about?
Minutemen. It's a great group of fellows, and there's even a couple of ladies.
She's like, well, gee, thanks for including, you know, half the population.
I believe a cop is feeding him intelligence about criminal activity.
Oh!
I'll see myself out.
We know they revealed Hooded Justice earlier in the episode, and it wasn't Will. So it was Will, the first Hooded Justice, and then someone else just, oh my, took over that identity. Oh my.
I thought I was the only person still alive in the whole world.
Yes, she is the baby. Yes, I was wondering.
Good. Because I'm pregnant.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing that would be Angela's dad?
But first, let's talk about your savings and our good friends at National Bank.
Everybody, you know, needs a sponsored post. Oh my gosh, these guys. And even how we talked over Will and, like, stole the big punchline to this story, even though Will had, you know, was the one talking. He's like, oh, let me, you know, finish this. People want to hear me talk. It kind of reminded me of Homeland from The Boys right there.
You know, I've been wondering, what good is the moonlight?
That would be so bizarre. Angela gets to meet her. I'm assuming it's got to be one of her parents. I'm assuming it's her dad. When he's a baby, a toddler. That would be so, like, nobody gets access to that, right? Nobody gets to see those. You see photos, but nobody gets to actually see that. It would be crazy. And the fact that your son is watching you put on makeup to pretend to be a different race, to hide your identity. And even if we assume that little boy was 4 or 5, how long has Angela been in these memories? Like, what is that doing to her, you know, in the real world in 2019?
And the whole room was full of lightning, and I heard a voice inside my head, and it said...
Was that a Cyclops symbol? Oh, I think I'm figuring it out. Like a giant eye? Because Cyclops obviously have the eye in the middle of their head. Is that the symbol? Like what he was doing?
What are you doing down here, buddy?
I'm not your buddy, pal.
Cops who walk this beat, and you ain't one of them.
I'm not your friend, guy.
There's your warehouse. Yes, sir. Sure is.
Well, you don't have a mask on. Whatever you're thinking.
No offense, but you jigs start to blend together after a while.
Oh my god. Why do I feel like this is going to be more than just a warehouse?
They asked me how I knew.
That's the symbol on the crates. He's a good shot, I'll give him that.
Just replied, something here inside.
Yes, it was in the film, it was in the cameras. Oh my gosh.
Or your enemy. Attack them.
This is what he's... Oh my gosh, this is horrible.
Yet today, my love has flown away.
I wonder if Angela can change the memory, or is she just reliving what's already happened? I love those old cameras. I know they're using them for horrible, horrible purposes, but as a film nerd, it's so cool to see those old cameras.
I'm not going back there.
No, I'm talking about you, Reeves.
Oh gosh, she's leaving him. Is that the same technique that was in the camera for the mind control? They said there was the flickering.
Just up here. Keep pushing.
He made him do it himself. That's how. Oh my gosh.
You should be so proud of your legacy. Where'd you hide it?
He's got you there.
You don't know me, old man.
Was Judd's granddad, the one that was with Will?
Yeah. I know you.
Cyclops! Ah!
All right.
Or, I know, Judd's granddad was one of the police officers. Oh my god. Yeah, and now Angela knows exactly what happened. Oh my gosh. That would be, you'd be so conflicted watching that, because obviously they were friends, but also now she knows more about him, and it doesn't seem like she can interfere with anything. She's just watching it happen, and oh my gosh.
I'm gonna take you home now.
Oh. I was wondering if we would just leave the episode with her stuck in this land, but oh my gosh, she's back to reality. With a whole lifetime of knowledge now. So that was my first time watching Watchmen episode 6. The previous episode and this episode have been my favorite episodes of the series so far. I feel like it's just getting better and better as we get into this story. I wish I knew more about the source material, or maybe this differentiates from that. I'm not too sure, but it just feels like we're slowly finding out so much about these characters, and it's just really interesting how they approach each episode. Like I predicted, Wade wasn't in this episode at all. We have no idea what's happening with him him and the cavalry. I'm hoping that'll pick up the next episode, but then maybe Angela's storyline won't be featured as much. Obviously, this episode was very much her involvement and very much focused on her and Will. This concept of putting memories in pill form is just equal parts terrifying and interesting, and the fact that they put like a chip in your brain and they realized that people were becoming addicted to the memories, and that's just a whole, you could unravel that as well. Like, that's just a big concept, and people wanted to live in the past, so they outlawed it, and we find out, you know, Angela's taken a lethal amount of it, and she has to, you know, go into this coma basically, and I didn't know if she would ever be pulled back out of it. I don't know how that was gonna happen, or if she dies in the memory, what that looks like. But again, like, if Will survived it once, we can assume that he would survive it again. It didn't seem like Angela could alter any of the events or change anything. It seemed like she was just witnessing it through Will's eyes, which would be terrifying. And it was just, I was getting so frustrated watching the way that Will was being treated. I can't even imagine how Angela would have been feeling. And especially, it's, you know, her grandfather and seeing her dad when he was little, but you can't like say anything to him, and just obviously seeing the family dynamics. We did also find out that the girl that Will ends up marrying, June, was the baby that he found after Tulsa. I was wondering when that was going to come back into play, and that's how that storyline is connected. And she takes the baby and heads back to Tulsa, and I feel like that's where Will's storyline kind of separates. We don't know much about him after he's in the police force. I'm glad we definitely got this look back at his backstory, and I love learning about the backstories of characters. Obviously, it plays a huge part into the character's present, as, you know, what happens to you affects who you are, and huge similarities between Angela's storyline and Will's storyline, you know, both in the police force and wanting to become vigilantes after being angry of what happened to them. You know, Angela was attacked on White Night, and Will, you know, obviously that horrific scene where his fellow officers were hanging him up in the tree and he turns the hood that they were going to hang him with into his mask, and that becomes, you know, hooded justice. How painful it must have been for Angela to see her grandfather go through these things and have to live these things, and it was just a heartbreaking episode. I'm glad we got to learn more about Will's backstory, as painful as it was, and it was interesting to learn more about these memories, and I'm very curious to find out what Angela's next move is going to be. We know she's still arrested, but what is she going to do now that she has all this information? She knows how Judd was killed. She knows her grandfather used this mind control light that they had created. You know, he literally used his own weapon against them basically, and my guess is that Judd's grandfather was one of those police officers we saw working with Will in the 50s who was doing the Cyclops hand gesture. I don't remember the officer's name, but I feel like that was the connection there. And the stylistic choice to film this episode in black and white. We've seen race has been a huge subject matter and theme throughout this season, and I feel like filming it in black and white just further, you know, visually told that story, and we get to see that, you know, literally in black and white. And I feel like that was obviously done very intentionally, and I feel like it was a very creative, artistic choice to have for the episode, as most of the episode was in black and white, and how Will has to hide his identity even under a mask. He's already wearing a mask, and then he has to put this white paint over his eyes so that the public thinks he is a white person, and that even Angela does the opposite, and she has that black bar across her face even under her mask, so it's black underneath as well. And I don't feel like she knew her grandfather was this person. She doesn't know much about him, but obviously there's that connection there. And I feel like when Will saw his son putting on that makeup and putting on, you know, this mask in the news, he was like, okay, I don't want my son to live this life. And I feel like he realized maybe hooded justice had kind of blurred into Will. And even June says that to him as well, like, there's no differentiating between the two of you. You've become this person, you know, you're obsessed with this character now. And I can't imagine what that would have been like for Will to have to hide his identity already through a mask, and then again through a mask, you know, having this paint over his eyes so people think his skin color is something different because the world won't accept him. It was just so painful to watch and terrifyingly realistic. I definitely feel like Will was struggling with his identity, and, you know, he uses this character to feel like he can do some good in the world. I feel like that's why he joined the police force in the first place. He wanted to help people, and then he sees that the police force is also corrupt and full of racism and this Cyclops. They're using projectors to mind control people, to have them kill each other off. It was just horrifying. And the fact that that's what Will keeps all of these years to use against Judd, and he's still doing this vengeance. He's not wearing the mask anymore because he knows it's just him and Judd, and no one is, gonna make it out that'll recognize it's him. We do have the wheelchair marks, but still there wasn't another person around. And it makes me wonder, has Will been living this vigilante lifestyle his whole life? Like, did he just dive deeper into it since his wife and son moved back to Tulsa? So yeah, I'm very curious to find out more. And the fact that all of the memories were from this one time. He didn't have, memories from the 70s or 80s or anything like that. They were all in this, even say, decade, when he's with his wife and she gets pregnant. And I believe their son was probably, he couldn't have been more than 10 by the time they left. So just so interesting to think about that. So his core memories, that's the time he was happy and he wanted to go back to. I definitely feel like Angela has a better understanding of Will now that she's seen this and what she does with that information. They haven't seen each other in a few episodes, so what happens when they meet again? What's that going to look like? Is he going to be wondering where are these pills? He did leave them in the glove box, so I feel like that was done intentionally and was hoping Angela would take them, so instead of him having to explain these things, she could live them for herself, which is also horrifying to put her through that. Will did end a few episodes ago saying that Angela would find out a surprise in 3 days. Whether that was the pills and the memories or if something else is coming, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what a Will-Angela reunion is going to look like, how that's going to go. We learned more about Captain Metropolis and the Minutemen and how Hooded Justice, Will, was involved in that, but even faced, racism in that group as well. Like, it just felt like there was nowhere he belonged. And when we see, Captain Metropolis talk over Will and, like, oh, okay, well, let's move on to our sponsors, and doesn't really give Will the platform to speak his voice. And he's also the one who says, like, oh, but you can't show anybody, no one else will understand you the way that I do. And is like, you can't show up to any meetings basically as you are. You have to wear your mask at all times. No one can ever find out. And Captain Metropolis kind of makes it a secret for him. And even though he's complimenting Will, it still feels like backhanded, and it still feels like, oh, I'm saying nice things to you, but I'm also going to encourage you to not be yourself around other people. And I just felt so bad for Will for this entire episode, and just the whole way he was treated was horrific. I'm very curious to see if this Cyclops will come into play in future episodes. We know Will obviously took out everybody in the warehouse, but if there were other branches, if other people were involved, what that looks like. And it was definitely a very Will-focused episode. I feel like it was so important for us to learn more about him, as we've just kind of known him as Angela's grandpa, and he's been very, aloof. I'm still not sure how he's as old as he is and functioning the way that he is, so I'm hoping they explain that at some point. And Will's choice to have this Hooded Justice character walk around with the noose around his neck, and nobody knows it's him, but he knows it's him. And I feel like that would have been a tough choice, but a brave choice at the same time, to make people look at what they did to him. Even though they don't know that it's him, he knows, and it just felt like a way of showing them, like, hey, you almost killed me because of my race, making them face that reality, even though they don't know they are. But yeah, it was just an interesting choice, and nobody else really seemed concerned. Like, all the other masked vigilantes that we've seen, have like a little band, and like they dress up more like Superman kind of. Hooded Justice, Will's character, has this literal noose walking around, and again, there were questions asked we didn't see, but everybody just kind of lets that be his character, and nobody seems to, be like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, nobody seems to inquire about why he's wearing that. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. This one and the previous episode were definitely one of my favorites. It was heartbreaking, but I think also an important story that we see what happened to Will and learn about his backstory. And for Angela to experience that, it must have been horrible. And now she knows more about Will as well, and we find out what actually happened to Judd. We got to see, exactly from Will's point of view, what he did, how he uses this light for mind control. I'm very curious to see if that'll come into play in future episodes, and literally using their own weapon against them. I love the artistic choice to have this episode be mostly in black and white. Again, we've seen race be a very, very prevalent theme throughout the show, and I feel like that was just such a creative visual way to help tell this story, and huge similarities between Angela's storyline and and Will's storyline. Again, I haven't read the source material. Please no spoilers, but it was a heartbreaking episode. But I feel like now we know so much more about Will's character, and I'm very curious to see what Angela's gonna do, how she's gonna get out of this arrest, what Wade's up to, what Adrian's up to, all of those pieces that were started in previous episodes. But thank you so much for sharing in this first time watching with me. If you have any other suggestions for TV shows you think I should watch, please comment below. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and check back often for more awesome content. That'd be so bizarre, living someone else's memories. The Cyclops? That's ominous first day on the job for sure. Door in the middle of the street. And the mask is born. Is she frozen in the memory? She's like, well, gee, thanks for including, you know, half the population. That's the symbol on the crates. Is that the same technique that was in the camera for the mind control? They said there was the flickering.